Hey, welcome to another Valley Forged. Today I'm talking about my beautiful Roly LaserMATIC XW, the 3010 watt variant. As you probably know, I can have any laser I want. There's really no limitations there. But for what I need right now, because I am super busy for Christmas, I run a laser business. This is all I do. I have no other job. And I have a lot to make. I have a lot of videos to make. And I wanted to make some big Lord's Prayer crosses. You guys probably, a lot of you have already got my Lord's Prayer cross file. And I wanted to make some really big ones so that people could see them from far away. They make amazing gifts. And hey, I want one or two that I could sell for a lot of money with, the smaller ones for less. Well, it all just made sense for me. And I have a lot of wallets to make. They've been really selling super well. I don't know what's going on right now. It really surprises me of how quickly those wallets sell. But regardless, I'm going to get into all that. But I reached out to Leo Roly and I'm like, you know what? This is the laser that I want to show off to people for Christmas. I think it's the laser of the year, in my opinion. There is a lot of other really great lasers out there. And so I am going to agree with that. But as far as something just all in one, how gorgeous it is, how well built it is, how great the customer service is, everything is just a great package for me. I get to look at this thing all day long and it makes me happy to turn it on. I love lasers. In fact, like, subscribe, all that stuff. If you love lasers like I do, it's a joy. And I think that's I do this because I love it. So therefore, having a machine that I love to work with and that I know is consistent, and I kind of get it. I'm like, it's time to clean the lens. I could just feel it. Everything works for me. I did make some modifications, as I do to every laser I get, and I'm going to go over that with you. If you want to do acrylic, don't buy this laser. I have videos showing you how to use acrylic on a diode laser. There's plenty you could use. I get it from Craft Closet, and they have a section specifically for diode lasers. I need to make an updated video on that because they have a lot of new stuff. But transparent acrylic, which is a lot of what you're going to want to do if you're doing acrylic, you can't do it in a diode laser. You just can't. So I would say don't even bother. So if doing acrylic, especially clear acrylic, is your thing, then I would suggest a full size CO2 laser. Although the desktops, there's some new ones coming out that are pretty darn good. Anyhow, we're talking about a diode laser though. This I think is the best on the market, even though like I said, there's a lot of other good choices if you're not me. And I'm going to try to go over some of that. I'm a fan of Atom Stack, is probably my second favorite. And they have lasers that are maybe more suited for certain people. I happen to want to work inside my house. I want to be able to see what's going on at all times from me to my laser. I do not want to have to build a case, and I want to be able to do big things. And I'm going to get into that, my Lord's Prayer crosses. I want to make big versions, and that's just something that this can do, and I'll show you what I mean about that. It just, the all-in-one takes it to a next level that you can't get if you buy it and then build your own case. Now, there are certain places, if you have a garage or something and you want to build a case, and it's still difficult to build it this cool. It just is, to where you could just see it and it's so easy to use and it's so well built. Look at it. I can show you right here on my screen. Look how well built this is. It is not cheap. You have linear bearings on both rails. You have an amazing drag chain. You have the air that comes directly, it's like a hole in the back of the machine. You don't have to have it, coming out of nowhere. How are you going to build an acrylic enclosure like this where you could see from all sides. Look at just the hinges and how well they're made. Everything just, it feels like somebody actually cared. And I guess that's the bottom line to me. It feels like whoever put this together actually gave a crap, and wasn't just trying to make a buck. They actually thought about what they were doing step by step, tested it, made it as best as they possibly could. Now, is it perfect? No, and I will get into that. But it's pretty darn close. And, I was really kind of surprised because so many new lasers have come out this year that I thought for sure something was going to be way more impressive to me than the Roly LaserMATIC. But alas, I have not seen anything that is impressive as this. Now, there are a few lasers that are more powerful, and that can have its benefit. And I suggest that you watch my videos if you're looking at something doing thicker wood. And I'm going to get into that in a little bit. I'm going to get into a lot of stuff in this video. So if you watch, you're definitely going to learn something about a video if you're looking into lasers and looking for them. It's not just going to be about the Roly LaserMATIC. I'm going to tell you when maybe you want to get something else, like I already have about acrylic. Another thing about it is this fixed honeycomb bed, and almost no lasers have this. All the honeycomb beds, most all the ones you get, are going to have your inches and centimeters along the side of it. But where that is in relation to the actual laser head is going to be completely arbitrary, because unless you fix it in one place, then it's never going to be the same. It could move around, which could be super frustrating. Whereas this one, you can literally rely on the coordinates of these measurements at all times. And I think that is one thing that just elevates it above almost every laser. And the fact that you have air that goes underneath that honeycomb, there's not a solid piece of metal under that. So the air can be sucked out underneath instead of on top. It makes a huge difference. And also, the honeycomb bed is just the right size holes where everything just falls down. I don't get a lot of stuff stuck in the honeycomb bed. There's just a lot of little things that just irritate me on other lasers that this doesn't have a problem with. And I rarely have to clean out the bottom. I will show you, I have actually you could barely, no, probably you guys can't see it. I'm going to show a picture though. Right underneath mine, I have my shop vac. So it's super easy for me just to lift up the honeycomb bed, suck everything out underneath, done. So that's super convenient. Another thing I like is that you're going to be taking the module off quite a bit. And a lot of them just have these standard little connections that are very likely to break over time if you're taking the module on and off quite a bit. And I'm really surprised by this. I'm really surprised that companies haven't put thicker wires there, and also just a connection that's easier to put on and take off, that doesn't feel like, oh, I can snap this plastic at any time. This one is very easy to put in and take out. It's out right now because I wanted to turn the light on without the fan turning on. So very easy to do. And it just seems well thought out. But there are some negatives to putting on and taking off the module, which I'll get into. I'm going to get into the negatives. Don't worry about that. I primarily use 3mm wood. It's the expense for it is pretty decent, and I can always double it up with a piece of MDF on the back, which I do for a lot of my things. And it cuts it, I wouldn't say like butter, but it's pretty good. You know what I mean? I never have to worry about it. It's gonna be done. 30 watts, I think, is absolutely perfect for that, for 3mm. Even up to, say, 5mm is going to get through it pretty quickly, no matter what kind of wood you got. Where I think it can struggle is anything 6mm or higher. I think just the distance that it has for the cutting distance, it ends at like 5 millimeters, it feels like. And so you're going to probably need to do 2 passes on 6 millimeter, which if you run a business and you're doing primarily 6 millimeter, that can really slow you down having to do 2 cuts, right? At a pretty slow speed, especially if you're say making a Lord's Prayer cross. Now, can you do it? Of course. Have I made at least 50? It's probably closer to 100 Lord's Prayer crosses on the Roly LaserMATIC, and it's worked 100%, and I haven't had to, like, throw any away, right? But I make sure my air is good, I make sure my focus is good, and I make sure my lens is clean. Now, those are things that will definitely screw you up. And make sure everything is level, because if one's raised just a little bit, could make a huge difference, especially on anything over 5 millimeter. So if you're doing just tons of 6 millimeter, a 40 watt might actually be a better buy for you. 40 watt is going to give you just that little extra that is going to make it easier to do it in one pass consistently. Obviously, the 70 watt from Atom Stack, you're going to cut through. That is perfect if you're doing a lot of 6 millimeter or up to 1/2 inch, right? Perfect for that. But maybe the engraving isn't going to be quite so good. I never turn off my 30-10. I never go to 10 watts. Now, some of you out there are going to. Even on the 70 watts, I never used the 35. I did it for review only, but I want to work in maximum speed, maximum power pretty much all the time. I want to know what my settings are, and so trying to remember which ones are great for 35, which ones are 70, which ones are 10, which ones are 30. I don't want to get into that. So this is one of the reasons why I really like the 30 watt, because the kerf size is close enough to puzzle feeling where everything fits into each other. And when you get to 40 watts and above, it feels like that kerf is just getting a little too big, where you might have to start doing a kerf offset to make it fit really good. And that's going to cost you a lot more money in materials and things like that if you want to do that for inlays or something like that. So 30 watts is right for me. I mean, obviously, I could have chosen to go with a 40 watt if I wanted to, but there's just nothing out there that has everything like this that I can just get to work. And I know it's going to be consistent, and I don't have to build an enclosure to have it the way that I want it, everything done, if you know what I mean. Like the Atom Stack 40 watt, excellent machine. And I know Clack Shack uses that primarily, or the 70 watt, both amazing machines. But I don't have a big garage, and I don't have enclosure Zilla or something like that, right? And even if I did, it's not fully see-through like this. So it really depends on you as a person. And for me, this is what makes the most sense. But you have to take your individual situation. But I would say for me, Atom Stack is number 2 behind Roly LaserMATIC, which out of all the laser companies, this is my favorite 2 companies. And, I'm always keeping an eye on both of them. But as I said before, this is a company that I feel so good recommending, and I feel very happy to. I've never once thought, you know what, I feel a little bad about recommending this machine. As long as it's the right people buying it, Roly is just an excellent company. I don't think anybody's going to argue it's the best customer service in the business. It isn't perfect, but most customer service for laser companies is just abysmal, absolutely terrible. Now, I think I mentioned earlier in the video about my leather. I love making leather wallets and different, I'm getting ready to make purses out of leather using the laser, and it just cuts it so perfectly. And this is the trouble I was running into on the CO2 lasers. I've used 3 or 4 different CO2 lasers to cut leather, and it does it great, but I always ended up with a lot of charring no matter what I did. I just could not get it absolutely dialed in and perfect where I could take that leather out of the machine and rub the side and there wouldn't be any char. With the Roly LaserMATIC, it really, and other diode lasers, but specifically this one, I feel like my speed and power has so much leeway in perfection, in where there's no, and that's important for leather because it can easily get smeared on. It's harder to clean. If you want to do some natural leather, it's even more important because soot marks it doesn't take anything to ruin that stuff. And so having it to where within a really good amount of space, I can just guess the speed and power and it's going to look good. It's going to cut through it. It's going to look good. And I'm super impressed with that. I say that right now just because I just got done cutting a bunch of wallets for Christmas. And they all came out so good compared to what I've seen for other lasers. And as I mentioned before, the Lord's Prayer crosses, probably my number one seller, both in the file and the physical goods. I wanted to make a couple of really large ones. In fact, I got some huge cases for them, or frames, and I wanted to make as big a one as I possibly could so that if I'm at a show or wherever I am, people could see them from across the way and be like, I want that, right? And I'll put them for a pretty high price, and then I can sell all of my other sizes fairly simply, but you got to get people's attention. And so having the ability to make large pieces so that their attention getting was probably the primary reason why I wanted this versus the regular, not the XW. To me, it doesn't take up that much more space, and it really allows me not only to make larger things, but it's just easier. I can just take, the majority of the wood that you get from like Craft Closet or most suppliers is 12 by 19. I have links for everything down below, by the way. Just if you're interested in anything, it's below. A 12 by 19 I can just throw in there. It's really, you don't even have to think about that, right? It's going to fit. Now, I can also throw these, 19 by 24 or something, the other size that I get, so that I can make these big crosses. It fits right in there. It's really super cool that you could do that. And then I can just, I generally like to do one 3mm and then an MDF 3mm and glue them together. And very easy to do with this machine. And having such a big, sturdy honeycomb bed it's really nice. So I will be showing you some more of those projects, some more of the large projects as we go on. But I'm really happy to be able to do that. So I didn't know that I was really going to care that I had the XW versus the regular version, because I love the regular version. I thought that's fine, but the XW was a new thing, so I figured I'd be able to show that off to everybody out there. But I would never go back. I love having the big one. All right, let's get into the negatives. And I've done a lot of LaserMATIC reviews. Like for last year, it was my laser of the year last year, best laser, but it wasn't the XW. The XW is pretty much the same machine. So if you've watched the reviews for the regular LaserMATIC, you'd be like, oh yeah, it's almost exactly the same. Which it has the same problem. The only one problem that I really hated about the LaserMATIC was the fan, that it stays on all the time when the machine is on. That's no change here for the XW. A lot of the newer machines have that built in to where the laser turns off when it's not in use. I knew that when I decided that the LaserMATIC was going to be my main machine, just because everything else about it is so awesome. So I was willing to have that one little negative. because and I don't regret that decision. This was the way to go for me. Other negative, I found that about for every 3 hours of engraving, not cutting, engraving, because the air won't be turned off. Now, another nice thing about this, you can turn it on and off the air in Lightburn. So that's it's a no-brainer. It has to happen. It's a deal breaker for me if it doesn't. But about every 3 hours of engraving, I need to take the module off and clean the lens. Now, for cutting, because the air is going through it, I really haven't seen it get dirty. I mean, maybe after a couple of days, but you'll get used to this. You'll check your machine. I would say after about 3 hours, check it and see how you're doing, whether it's cutting or engraving. But this is where I get to the negative. It's got four little bolts that go in that you have to remove to take the module off. Now, if you're doing that every 3 hours, and some of them are not super easy to get to, it can be a little annoying. As a matter of fact, I only have three in mind because when this is my job. I don't have time to I'm going to make this as simple for myself as I possibly can. It's in there very sturdy with three in there solid. But then when you take off the module, which is very easy to take off the wire and the hose, that's very easy. And I come over to clean it. I just use a photo cleaning kit. And then I get to the bottom of the thing, and now I got four more that I have to take out. And I think having 8 screws to take out every time that you want to clean it, every, say, 3 hours of use, it's not super bad, but I think there's a better way. I'm just going to say that. I think that it should be done in a way that should be a little easier to do. Because everything here is so well thought out. And I'm sure they did that because it needs to be secure. And, hey, if it needs to be done, I'm super happy they did it. And I'm not going to complain about that. I'm just talking from my point of view here that I wish it was just a little simpler. It's a little nitpick. But, I keep thinking, and that's about it. Some things that I did with this, I took off the camera because I don't use it. And I like to have a pretty flat surface on top. And maybe I'll show you. What I do is I'll put a mat and a towel on top of my machine. And then I put like a little photo booth. It's just a cardboard box. And I put it on top of the machine so that I could do my painting and things. And I make sure I don't get anything on it. Because I want to use the air extraction for when I do painting or finish work or whatever to keep that air out of my apartment, of course. So the things that I have done that I have changed, I have taken out the camera, which you could just unplug it. It's not a difficult thing. And I think it's 4 little screws, of course, 4 little screws, just to take it out so I could put it back in within minutes if I wanted to. I just don't happen to want to calibrate the thing all the time. I can see what's going on, and I frame it with the laser on it. I just said that in my last video showed you some tips and tricks on how to make these things easier for you to do your framing and make sure everything is perfect. So the camera wasn't necessary for me. It was more hassle than it was worth, and that's for all the lasers. I've never used a camera that I was like, oh, I want to use that all the time. The air fan in the back, I immediately took out the fan that comes with it. I have my own exhaust fan, and I've mentioned it in a few videos, but I will show a picture of that. And it's like $40, and it really sucks. I never have to worry about any smells. Even when I do leather, it's just pulling everything outside. And so I'm super happy with it. And so as soon as I get a laser in, I remove the original fan and I put this in. Now it's a 6-inch, so I had to go down to 4 inches, which I have the little thing there. But what's nice is I just use a screwdriver I can unplug it out of the back and then stick it in my my paint booth. And that just works to suck all the air out of that. I put it right back on the back of the Roly. Done. So super simple. I think it's a super great hack for me to be able to make something, clean it off, paint it, or put a finish on it, and use all of the same things. It works. And it keeps all of these fumes and smokes and everything out of my place. So I have so much more to say about this machine and to show you. It's been working nonstop pretty much since I got it. Like, it's been probably almost a month, but I've just been super busy and making things. And, you know, it's my business. It's Christmas time. It's no time for BS. You know what I'm saying? But I know this is a long video and I kind of ranted, but whatever. I just wanted to talk to you about the Roly LaserMATIC. I'll do future reviews on it. I'll talk about more. I want some feedback. What do you guys think? And again, you know what? There's better lasers for some other people's uses. This is what is best for my use, and I just wanted to pass that on for you. I'm not a fanboy in the sense that I don't think there are any other great lasers or that there are not other great uses. Again, I just feel like this is the best company that I really am happy to support. And it also is the laser that I just felt could do what I needed to do to run my business for Christmas. And that was kind of important. And of course, like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. If you decide to get the Roly LaserMATIC, obviously I got an affiliate link below. And I'd appreciate you using it. And I will see you in the next one. Love y'all.